What is up, everybody? It's Jeff. I am back, and if I sound a little bit off today, it's because I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but that is not going to stop me from teaching you guys how to use the operator, right? Most expensive, probably the most powerful gun in all of Valorant, and if you want to master this particular weapon, it takes a very different type of aim style from what you're used to. Now, we're going to have a two-parter for this one. The second part's going to be positioning guide, because positioning with this weapon is super important. But for now, be sure to like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, guys. Show up, watch the content, get the channel some movement here, right? We need those engagements. And yeah, let's get into the aim portion of this. So, the first thing that we're going to do here actually is, well, we're going to talk about what professional operator players use in order to determine when they fire, and that is a color change, right? You look at pros, they seem to fire so fast, you're like, how do they even know? Well, it's because the color change in their crosshair. Yes, that's right, in their crosshair. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into our crosshair settings, so at least have an option available for when we're using that operator, right? We're going to make sure that we've got some kind of a gap. A gap is huge. If you can have a gap for your crosshair when you're using the operator, it's just going to make such a difference, because you can align that gap with a pixel angle or even just with a tight corner, and instead of watching for anything else, you just watch for the color change. And at that point, it becomes one of those reaction speed test games that you see online, right? Where you sit there in anticipation, you wait for the color to change, and you click as fast as possible. And as long as you haven't fallen asleep, you kill the guy. So that's the first thing that we're gonna do, and in order to practice that, we're gonna utilize a series of tasks and aim labs that take advantage of moving targets. Now, smaller is better in this case, but we also want really steady, slow, even movement, or even fast movement. But as long as it's point A to point B, clearly defined straight line, not a roaming target or an awkward bouncing target. We want to be able to place our crosshair well and truly ahead of that target that we're looking for, and wait for that color change inside the crosshair. When the passover happens, that's when we go ahead, we hit that click, comes through, and we move on to the next target. We go ahead and we place in line of the next target, because part of this is about patience. We want that slow build up. We want to learn to control our breath, relax our arm, tense just our fingers, have them ready and waiting to go. That way, when that color change does occur in that center gap of the crosshair, we click it, we get the reward right away. And a series of different tasks that does this is good. You're going to want 2 to 3 different ones, and then you're also going to want some backups for those so that you can rotate it out. That way you're not just doing the same thing all the time. Because the mechanical training aspect of this particular skill is pretty low, you don't have to do it a ton. A minute and a half a day, literally like 2 to 3 actual scenarios in aim lab or Kovacs will be enough. That'll get you to the point that you want to be at in terms of having your reaction speed and your recognition of color change actually deliver you hitting that shot, as long as you're holding the right angle, which is something we'll talk about later. But when we think about operator highlights and operator pop-off moments, the thing that comes to our mind are crazy flicks, awesome reaction shots, multi-kills, right? That's what we think is special. And you're not going to get a multi-kill holding a single angle looking for a color change. You're going to need to aim. And the way that you aim with this big, beautiful weapon is so different from the way that you aim with anything else in the game. I mean, it's all the same mouse control principles, but it feels different, you know? And for arena shooter players like myself and a whole bunch of other individuals out there, it's really, I mean, it's a Quake railgun with a nice set of concrete shoes as an accessory. So you don't actually get to move that much. So you gotta make the absolute most of your shots. You've got to make sure that they're clean and they're precise, and they've got to be fast. And fortunately, you can hit pretty much anything center mass and get rewarded with a kill. So it doesn't have to be the most accurate shot, but it does need to be snappy with just minimal information. You need to get literally like 2 frames in your scope, download the information, and hit the snapshot before you actually get to mentally acquire these targets. It needs to be so reactionary, right? So when we're in aim labs, we're looking for scenarios that really push our speed. Things like Jumbo Tile Frenzy, Grid Shot Ultimate. Anything like Fireworks is excellent because it forces you to do a lot of very fast, low precision shots that really, they kind of just play into the operator as a weapon, right? You're not looking for the head, you're looking for the chest, you're looking for the biggest target, you're keeping your crosshair moving quickly, but you're not necessarily worried about hitting it dead in the center. It's gonna be a very speed-based exercise where the only limiting factor you want in the game, you want the only limiting factor to be the reload speed of the operator. I mean, there's a reason that exists. There's a reason you unscope and rechamber every round, and it's because if you didn't have to, it would be broken. Just think about old chamber. Now, aim labs, excellent way to get that kind of training, but there's another method that I really like that's more interesting, I think, and I've seen it be effective. I've used this on players before. That sounds so horrible. I've had players do this and seen results, right? And that is, well, first of all, we're going to load up to a sensitivity converter, but basically the long story short is we're going to actually use a different game. And the game that I like to use is Diabolical. There's a number of different sensitivity converters out there. I'm actually going to show you one because the way Diabolical does its sensitivity conversion is a little weird. So you're always going to set your sensitivity in the game to 3.81, but then there's this yaw multiplier, and so you'll copy that number in the game and or in the whatnot. You're going to come here, you've got your normal sensitivity there, but your yaw multiplier and your pitch multiplier, you're going to set those equal so that your up, down, and your left, right are both equal. And that is going to be what changes your sensitivity. It's much more finely tuned than messing with this 3-digit number. We've got all these extra digits. We get much more precision, and because the Diabolical servers are very high tick rate, and you can push your frames up pretty high, you get to be really precise in your sensitivity, right? What we are going to be doing is we are going to be utilizing one of these exercises. Now, the fast flick shots works really well. As does the flick shots. I'm going to start with the flick shots because I'm a potato and I'm not going to ask my Radiant level editor to download this game and convert all of his sensitivity stuff and whatnot in order to figure this out, right? But what happens in this is we get a high number of reps, but we also get movement challenges, right? So you can move as much as you want. I recommend not moving it, but the bots are going to push you in terms of your actual reaction flicks, right? One thing that'll help with this as well, like if you're wanting to train your operator, first of all, back up, but second of all is always return to center, because that way you get the actual challenge of the flick shot. And I know that this feels unrealistic, but think about if you have an operator and a raise jumps across your screen or a jet dashes. And also there's that classic mindset of, well, if I can hit this, then I can hit anything, right? Now, I'm not good. Like I said, I'm feeling under the weather. But if you are good, then what you can do is you can do this one. And you can really push yourself to be as snappy as possible. And with this, the operator in Valorant will feel rather slow. However, you will be able to take advantage of it as quickly as possible. This is really good because obviously this target is way larger than what you would encounter in Valorant if you were using like a Vandal or something. You're wanting to hit for the head, but if you're using the operator, then this size target is great and you can really push the speed. I've seen players get over 120 on this. And it definitely improved their close range clutch fights and their combat hopping and whatnot. So when you're doing this particular exercise, you're looking for the final score. You want to push this middle number as high as possible. The accuracy isn't a big deal. The reaction time, I don't even know why it's here, but you want to push the final score as high as possible. Like I said, I've seen players get well over 120 on this. So it's just another fun way to really train that fast reaction, low precision hopping, and it gets you used to all kinds of wild movement that you actually may see in Valorant if you have to combat op versus the likes of a Neon or a Raze or a Jet in the current meta, where you're looking for high mobility agents to get close and personal on an op player, and that's one of the big weaknesses of the weapon. But if you can utilize training like this, you will never be caught off guard by plays like that in Valorant. Now, the last and final thing to great opping, to being a really great op player, is positioning. And that is something that we are going to save for next time, because it deserves its own video. It deserves extra attention to the angles that you can play, some map highlights as well for popular angles and why they're good, the kind of support utility you can call for. You know, there's a whole extra list of game sense related stuff to being a great operator player, but none of that matters if you don't hit the shots. You can be in the right place at the right time with the right help and have the easiest shot of your life. But if you're too slow, then you will not get the kill, and none of it mattered. So hopefully this gets you guys started. You can get to work doing some of these drills, playing some of these games, you know, maybe expanding your horizons on the way you aim train. I totally respect it if you stick to warm-ups. I totally respect it if you stick to utilizing the operator even in the practice range with the floating bots, where you just wait for that color change and you fire and you just sit there and practice that kind of patience. I understand all of that, right? Those are all valid ways to do it, and that's definitely something that you can do. I just wanted to provide a little bit of an outside of the box idea that you could try to broaden your practice. Now, thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time. Peace out and God bless.